morning, fellas. Hey, what's going on? Hey, just getting the old bones warmed up here. There's a couple people on already. Thank you for coming in promptly. So this is the prototype again. Only right now I'm running KT77s and they're not biased, so you can kind of hear them fizzing and fuzzing a little bit, but I just wanted you to hear the difference. The thing I'm trying to do is to get used to using this power scheme with a bunch of different tubes and make sure they work right. So 77s have a little more of a, as you can hear, a little more of an edge to them, a little more raspiness, you know. They're a little more feral. They sound really good. I don't know if they're ideal for this amp or not. Also, like it was biased up for EL34s. I went over to Mike's this weekend and he was really busy, so we put him in there, put it on the scope, and went, it's close enough. And you can hear it. Hear a little bit of a in there. The tubes aren't biased perfectly, but this is educational for you because you can hear what it sounds like when your amp needs to be biased. This is really close and probably close enough for most people. That's a good sound. You can hear it a little bit. This needs to be biased. It's not quite there. Hey, we're getting some more people on. I'm just going to sit here and shoot the breeze for a few minutes until we kind of get a quorum, and I have some good stories to tell you. For a lot of people in the world today, there's a new pope. Congratulations. As a sort of ex-practicing Catholic, I know that it makes a lot of people happy, so I'm glad. Whoops. Don't get old. It takes a long time to warm up my hands now. There's a lot of good detail and definition in there, though, isn't there? I don't mind it. Just I have to bias this a little bit and maybe voice it a hair for 77. Also, this output transformer is not optimized for KT77. So you can hear, like, these are the nuances in making good amps. I probably feel a whole lot better when you're gone. Anyway, yeah, so I'm watching people come on. Thank you for coming, joining. Anybody? Hey, George. Hey, buddy. Happy Thursday to you too, man. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Things are good. Life is good. I have a fun story to share with everybody once we get rolling. And, whoa, there goes my microphone. This is so awkward. One of the good news, part of this story is I'm going to have a shop soon. and none of this hodgepodge crap in my home office. So you can see, like, we're doing construction in there, like we're getting a new floor and some other stuff. So where does everything go? Well, let's just put it in Dan's office. He only uses it on, camera for 1 hour a week. So. So I got a little bit of echo and verb going on here, just a little bit, give it kind of a live sound. Let me turn those off, and you can hear the dry. Not bad, huh? I go up to the dirty side. So you can hear those 77s are a little rattier sounding. I like it. They don't sound as composed and perfect as a EL34 does in this circuit, especially. This transformer, this output transformer, I think is actually optimized for 6L6s. So that should be our next experiment, right? But you can tell there by the edges of the sound that it's not biased perfectly. It's still biased for the other pair of EL34s, which are, actually they're here. I will swap them out here shortly, and you'll see. These are JJ EL34 2s, which if you're not familiar with those, I really like them. They sound more like old EL34s than new ones. And those are JJ 77s that are in there. All right, who else is here? Sound off. What's your name? Where are you? Are you in another country? Are you in another state? Are you in another time zone? Are you in another state of mind? I've had a lot of notes from people like, hey, man, I was watching your show and I was kind of stoned and I forgot what you said. That's cool. Letting the hair grow out a little bit, and it's right in my face. So I'm going to be that guy noodling with his hair all day. So. Contrary to popular belief, I've had several discussions with people online that think I wear a toupee or that I wear a wig. I don't. George, are you planning on sticking with the JJs? Probably. They seem to be really good now, like better than when I was in production before. Like they've improved their big bottles. Their regular EL34 is not my favorite. It's very popular with some other amp manufacturers, but those are guys that are usually a lot higher gain. And those tubes work really well in that gain situation. It just doesn't suit my ear. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you if you like them. It just means I'm a picky bastard. But these EL34 2s, I really like. And then I suspect, I think I might have another tube issue going on in this amp. So it's not perfect. Hey, Leroy, how are you, buddy? Tri-Cities, Washington. Hey, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming by. I love that. Tri-Cities, Washington. Welcome. Yeah, I used to work in the software business in the 90s. And I worked for a company based out of what was it? One was out of Kirkland, where Costco is, right? And what was the other one? Another one of those Seattle suburbs. Crap, it's been a long time. It's been decades. I'm forgetting the names. But yeah, Kirkland was really nice. I had a great time going up there. Washington's a beautiful place if you guys haven't been. And I understand it rains a whole lot less there now than when I used to go up there for work. Like when I did my training up there, I had to stay up there for 8 weeks. And it rained every day. Kind of digging these 77s. I got a little attitude. Yeah, it rained every day. And I remember I saw, you probably know this, Leroy. Or if it's Leroy, I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing it wrong. they came on the news one day while I was eating lunch, and they said, Tom from Tacoma is reporting a sunbreak. And what in the hell is a sunbreak? Because it would be cloudy for so long that people would actually call it into the news when they saw the sun. Bill Strange, tell me more, Dan, EL34-2. Hey, buddy, how are you? Good to see you. I don't really know much about them other than they're a variation that JJ started making. I don't know if they've been around a long time. Mike says he's not sure. People often mix these up. They make another one called an E34L, which I'm not wild about. I don't know what the physical differences is, to be honest. I'll be happy to research it for you. This tube has that upper mid-range honk, honk, honk thing that good old Marshalls have. And like I say, this amp is not optimized for EL34s, so I have another one that we're going to do. Mike's got a couple chassis that we're going to start converting over to this power scheme. This is literally just proof of concept. This is not a product I'm going to make. I could make it if you like it. It's basically a Soho front end on some big bottles and big transformers. But we are going to do some more traditional sounding amps, which we used to stay away from a lot. You know what this sounds like? Sing that high. Who can? I'm Losing You is the song, right? Which I think was a Temptation song that Rod Stewart and the Faces ended up doing later. Both versions are fantastic. And then there's also, right, the... It's kind of in line with 7591s almost, isn't it? Sorry, I'm watching the amp at the same time. I go for a little more dirt. Yeah, that's some fuzzy shit. I think that's mainly because the amp's not biased close enough. There you go. Like I said, this is your educational week. You get to hear an amp that's not biased. Now, when I put the EL34s in, it's technically biased for those tubes, but because I've been playing this, it's going to be off. But let's put a little bit of grease back on this. I like a little grease. Then let's go over to the clean side. George says, what is the tube set for the preamp section? Great question. It's an EF86. Or, you know, I'm kind of hooked on EF86s. It's a deal with the devil. Into a 12x7 gain stage, and then a cathode follower, and the phase inverter is a 12x7 also. It's pretty simple. We make another one. We made it. Scotty Bratcher has one of these, but with an extra gain stage on, or an extra tube. It's one we made for Richie Sambora. And that's probably where I'll end up going. If I continue with this, put another tube in this. So I've got, the gain's really good this way, but it gets a little swampy when you're killing, you know, 2 gain stages. So if I add another gain stage, and then I want to put in that little secret thing that's in Little Elvis. It fattens up the signal, right? So. But if I go over here super clean, turn the booster off. And then, let's see, leave the booster on. Do the Klon copy. So this is that $79 Klon Centaur copy by Behringer. You know, Behringer's like the cheapest company in the world, and this thing is perfect. Let me turn that off. And then the Barber Direct Drive, which I use mostly as a complement. You know, I don't really use it so much on the clean sound, but I'll use it on the dirty side just to add a little more. So that is a little thick like that, and then I have a clean booster. But I mean, this Centaur copy, if you just want to do dirt, like if you have a deluxe or something, and a clean amp that doesn't have a great dirty sound, this is it. That's the coolest $79 pedal I've ever heard. I think I held the box up last time, but I'll do it again. I guess I'm going to keep it. Centaur Overdrive by Behringer. I think I bought mine used from a guy on Facebook Marketplace for $60. Charged me $9 shipping, but I think right now you can commit to one on Guitar Center for $69. Best $69 that you ever spend. Like, it's cool. Let's go back over to a little dirt on the amp, though. How's that going to play out with pedal board users? I'm not sure what you mean, George. You mean the tube complement that we have? The EF86 is very pedal friendly. I'll have a loop in here too, though. So if you're one of those people that prefers a loop, I'll have it. And I mean, there's pros and cons to having loops. Definitely, I get the logic of putting your time-based effects in the loop, like echoes and verbs and stuff like that. But, you know, the ones that really change when you put different signal levels into them. But as far as boosters and dirt boxes and stuff like that, compressors, I really like them up front. But I run my whole pedal board up front. I'm old school. It doesn't bother me that it changes. To me, it's more like vocabulary. You know, because I got two different sounds now with like my Vibe Machine. Which the Vibe Machine, like here, like clean, I have it barely on, right? It's just, let me turn it on here, you can hear. Now, if I go to the dirty side, see how it gets accentuated more. I consider that two different options. But a lot of people that don't like that prefer loops. There's no right or wrong. No, George, I've never had a problem with EF86s and pedals. I don't gain it up real high. So I think that's probably what keeps it sane, I think. The EF86 has a lot of gain. So you don't have to, you can really set it up mellow. I just like the tone that it imparts, like you hear. Let me turn the vibe off. Oh, sorry. Univibes are great, but you hear that almost acoustic guitar sort of quality? That's the EF86. I think it's really nice. I've never had a problem though, George, but my amps aren't real gainy. Contrary to popular belief, not many guys, professionals, actually play with that much gain. even modern heavy bands, they don't play with that much gain. Their guitars just aren't that dirty. And I see a lot of guys when they play it at home, they twice as much dirt. It's definitely more forgiving and friendly to have all that gain, but it's not really what's happening, like on the record and stuff like that. Nothing wrong. Again, there's no right or wrong here. It's just if you like it, it's good. I'm going to turn this off and let it cool off, and then I'll put the EL34s back in. And we can talk for a minute. So anyway, we have a good quorum of people here. So what I wanted to tell you, good news, I got a commitment for the first batch of money. So 65 is officially reviving. I'm out looking for shops right now. Was on the internet last night till midnight. And I'm going to go driving around after I leave you guys and start looking at places. Got a few picked out already that are good targets. We're one batch of money is, committed to right now. And another one is coming soon. It's enough money, should be enough money to run for like 3 years. So we can develop without a gun to our head. We can use all the options that we would love to, not be sort of forced every week to make payroll and stuff like that. For the startup, the idea is to build a bigger company. So, George, good question. Oh, scary. Let me finish my thought here and I'll answer that question. I'm going to put that on the screen because this is a good topic to discuss. Nice picture, by the way, George. So we're in business. Things are good. I am from Missouri, which is known as the show me state. So I don't have money in hand yet, but I'm telling you, I got a commitment. It looks good. It seems very positive. I've been instructed to go out and look for a shop so I can get out of my home office and get back to where, you remember what the old show was like, right? We could make a lot of noise. We could have a lot of fun. Anyway, that's the breaking news. Spread the word. The boys are back in town. So anyway, George asks, great question. Are you going to have a bias adjustment on the back panel for tube swaps? That's a dubious thing. I have a lot of mixed feelings about that. If you don't know what you're doing, you can blow up your amp. And every other tube amp manufacturer that I've talked to that has done that says that they regret it. Because their phone just rings all the time and go, hey man, my son's blowing my amp, it blew up. And then what happened? Well, I was playing with the bias to get some different sounds. You can't do that. Tubes can't take massive bias swings. There's a range from which they will work. But if you bias them too hot, they just fail. There's nothing you can do about it. So I've thought about this a lot, George, and I think it would be good if I could put some kind of meter or readout on the back of the amp so that you could tell you were in the safe zone, that the amp was working correctly. I don't bias amps with a meter. We bias them on a scope. And the reason for that is, you get a pair of EL34s and it says it wants this much bias current and blah, 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 blah. That's fine if the tubes are exactly as they're supposed to be made, which, as many of you know, no tubes are. So that arbitrary number is for a perfectly made tube that's measuring at exact specifications. Doesn't always work. It does not always work. Thank you, guys. Eurotube sells bias probes. Yeah, I really don't recommend. Hi, Arturo. I'm not sure yet. They used to cost anywhere from about $1,800 up to $3,500, depending on which one you got. Things have changed, so I don't have pricing yet. It won't be cheaper. Sorry. We are going to do some production amps, like factory-made amps, that will be more affordable. They'll be in line with like a lot of the guys here in LA, Bogner, Friedman, all that kind of stuff. Those are factory-made amps. They're not handmade. So I don't know. I really don't recommend that people bias their own amps. I know a lot of you guys here are probably unusual. you're smart enough to do research on the internet and you have enough experience with amps that you could probably pull it off. I'm not kidding. Every manufacturer that I've talked to about this says they completely regret doing that, because 9 out of 10 people don't know what it means. They don't even understand what biasing is. They think it's a tone option or something. It's not. It's directing the right amount of electricity to each tube so that they're balanced. And if they run imbalanced, it gets bad. The sound gets bad and the performance gets bad and the tubes can cook. Tubes are already pretty fragile these days compared to old tubes. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's something to consider, and I'm not dismissing it. I haven't heard good things. Let me put these EL34s back in. This should be cool enough now. This amp doesn't really run hot because I'm running low voltage and high current. So let me pull the 77s out. I'll show you what they look like. Here's the big JJ KT77. Yeah. Looks a lot like an EL34, but it's technically a tetrode, not a pentode. There is no suppressor grid in this tube. So I'm going to stick this in. EL34 2. So do you guys... You're welcome, Arturo. Sorry, I'm not there by the microphone. I don't have my glasses on, so this might take a second. But, do you guys know what a suppressor grid is? So George, I know where you're going. I can see it already. I have a Solo 45 that that's Aspen Pittman, right? So Aspen was one of the people that said, don't do that. He's one of the people that told me not to do that. I used to know Aspen really well, rest his soul. A really fun guy. Very smart guy. Very creative businessman, like hustler guy, you know. And I talked to him about it, and he said it wasn't worth it. So, you know, I can make the amp cathode biased, which I think we're going to do, actually. So this is maybe the solution for this. I'm going to make it cathode biased, where it will bias itself. Yeah, I love this Elliott guitar. Thank you. Good to see you, Randy. What is it? Papa's Hobum. Papa's Americanas. Papa Americanas. Cathode bias would make this easier. This amp's grid biased, and because originally it was like a 60, 70 watt amp with KT88s in it. So yeah, maybe cathode bias is the thing. Really, you know, I'm sure you can probably handle it, George. You seem like you're a smart guy. Now we're back to EL34s. See how they're a little more polite, a little more polish. That is the suppressor grid in a tube. So I can give you a quick tube lecture. There's 3 grids in a pentode, right? Yeah, it might just be my tone settings. Yeah, it is thicker sounding. Also, a lot of that is because this amp is biased for these tubes. So these are tubes that are biased much more correctly. So they're tighter. And thicker sounding. So there you go. So anyway, there's 3 grids in a tube, right? All tubes have a negative and a positive side of them. That's the anode, which people call the plate. And then there's the cathode, which is the negative side. All electricity flows from negative to positive. So electricity is coming in on the cathode. That's why the cathode resistor on a tube makes a big difference. And then it's leaving the tube on the plate. The output of the tube goes off the plate, which is also why the plate resistor sounds important. And well, it is important. It doesn't sound important. It's important to the sound. Easy for me to say, right? And then in the middle, there's a thing called a control grid. And the control grid is where the signal comes in. So when I hit this guitar, I'm sending an electrical signal to the control grid of this EF86. And it's exciting it. And when it excites it, that draws electricity from the negative to the positive side. It's all it is. It's a light bulb, right? I'm creating a draw by doing that. I'm introducing electricity to the control grid of this tube. The next grid is called a screen grid. And the screen grid controls the electricity bias inside the tube. Yeah, plate length makes a big difference, George. So you can charge up your screens. So like if, for example, if I have an amp where the plates are at 400 volts, I'll run the screens around 340 or 350. That controls the environment in there. And then lastly is a suppressor grid. So what a suppressor grid, what does it suppress, you ask? So when you're running all this juice through a tube, the plate can't absorb all the electrons, and some of them just bounce off the back. And then they can bounce into the control grid and the screen grid and create a little bit of craziness, right? So as they started juicing up tubes, they went from tetrodes to pentodes. The pentode has that suppressor grid. That's called blowback. So the suppressor grid catches all the blowback. That's all it is. It's like a filter. So on KT tubes, KT66s, KT77s, oh yeah, I'll tell you, Rob, you know what the answer to that is. KT88s, etc. Those are, the KT stands for kinkless tetrode, which means you could get a sine wave without a kink in the middle of it. Oh, good question, Mark. I'll get to you, I swear. So, KT tubes, for that reason, are a little more crazy. They're kind of fun. It's a different sound. Not everybody loves it, but like KT66s, the JTM 45 thing. A Park 75 had KT88s in it. Those are both kind of wild amps. Need a little more treble here, don't I? Let's just go over to the clean side. I got my guitar down. Ooh, let's tune this booger up real quick. So that's a quick tube lecture. So a KT77 and a EL34 are very similar tubes, except for the KT77 doesn't have a suppressor grid. A KT66 is very similar to a 6L6, only it doesn't have a suppressor grid, etc., etc. KT88 is very similar to a 6550, just doesn't have a suppressor grid. So it's a personal preference thing, whatever you like. So there's a reason why they call them valves in the UK. Yeah, because the electronic reaction in the tube opens and closes like a valve. When you charge up the control grid, it opens, like electricity starts flowing through it. I think valve is a technically more correct term. Tube is just the valve, right? So Mark says, this is a good question. Let me put it up on the screen. Hold on a second. EL36? I'm not familiar with EL36s. If one wanted to become their own, sorry, my camera's in the way. If one wanted to become their own amp tech, is there a book or something you'd recommend? Yeah, there's a bunch. It's a big subject, you know. You can't just kind of become an amp tech because there's danger inside of an amplifier. So I really recommend you get some training. Pay your local amp tech 2 hours of bench time to give you a basic class on amp safety. I mean, there's, the filter caps in there have so much electricity in them. If you stick your hand in there the wrong way, you can electrocute yourself. And I mean that in the literal version of the word, not shock yourself. Electrocute meaning die by electricity, like execute with electricity, electrocute. You can do that inside any amp, right? So you got to be super, super careful. And there's some basic safety practices, but I can look it up and put it on the fans page. It's been so long. Finally made it. Did Dan say vocabulary yet? Of course it did. Scotty, what the hell, man? Hey, buddy, good to see you. It's been so long. I have a bunch of books that I bought like 20 years ago. There's a few standard ones that are really good. But I really, really strongly recommend, like, if you have a good amp tech, just, pay them, buy them food, whatever you got to do. Take some classes, spend some time doing that, because one wrong move and you can really hurt yourself, or you can electrocute yourself. There's some basic practices, like I don't work on an amp. I keep one hand in the pocket. Because if you stick both hands in the amp, right? And let's see, which way am I going on the camera? And you get shocked from here to here. Guess what's in the middle? Your heart, right? So you got to be really, really careful. And that's probably not the answer you wanted to hear, Mark. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a party pooper. But there are no amp techs in your city. That's the part I missed. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's tough. So what kind of amp teching are you thinking you need to do? Because like basic repairs aren't that big of a deal. Do you know how to solder? Being able to solder is one thing, but like being able to make a nice clean solder joint without bubbles in it and stuff really makes a difference on how the amp sounds. That's pretty good, the old 34 sound. Let's see. George Lee, old Muller tubes, I have a few and I use them. My Andy Marshall univalve, yeah, and bivalves have fun. We used to have amp building courses at the community college. They hit all the safety messages while teaching the build. Yeah, it's really important. I would feel horrible if I just said, yeah, go ahead, get your book and stick your hands in an amp and something happened to you. I'd never forgive myself. I have a responsibility, at least, to tell you this is dangerous. Jeff Nork says, I have a little Elvis combo that picks up radio stations and no amp tech I've brought any yeah, that's easy. Noise comes in either through the input jack or at the power. So you can get a filtered AC outlet. We can just replace the one that's in there. They have a self-contained that has a noise filter in it. Ferrite beads work really well. Put them on the power section. Where do you live, Jeff? Yeah, it's easy to do. I mean, I'm used to locking down touring amps, which is, a guy's got on tour and there's 400 screens and on stage and 28 channels of wireless going around and, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry, George. This is a hum single guitar. It's a Ron Ellis humbucker, which is really low output. And it's like 7.3 or something. And then these are Andy Elliott's Strat pickups, which sound great. You're in Charleston? You could probably take it to Andy Elliott in North Carolina. He does great amp work. He builds good amps too. Who else is in? Randall Aiken is in South Carolina. He's right there on the border over by Augusta, Georgia. Randall Aiken is a wizard. I don't know if he's still doing this or not, but he's one of the better amp guys I've ever met. He's great. What's the town across the border from Augusta, Georgia? I don't know how far you are from there. Charleston's on the coast, right? So it's kind of a drive for you. Andy Elliott, I think, is in like central North Carolina. He's great. There's ways to do this. It's not very complicated. We have to order you a couple of parts, neither of which are expensive. The filtered AC inlet, that weird shaped, international electric connector that's on the back of your amp. You just take that out and you put in one that has a noise filter built into it, which is what we do for all the touring amps. Domestic users usually don't have that much noise, so often the noise has to do with your local power system. Like, I'm from a small town in Missouri, and when I go there, the amps are noisy as hell because they actually ground the power grid to the water pipes. That's very common in small towns. For an older electrical grid, they're grounding it to the sewage pipes and the water pipes, and that will introduce a lot of noise. Also, if you live in a house that's older, like this house is 90 years old, the wiring's noisy as hell. There's not much I can do. So I have a filtered power supply that I run everything off of. What do you call it? Furman. I run everything off of Furman power supply. Because this house, literally this room is 1936, I think. And the wiring is probably freaking cloth for all I know. It's noisy as hell. So anyway, Jeff, message me on Facebook, and I'll hook you up with those guys if you want. Happy to help. So let's see. Mark says, I have some amps that are starting to get older, such as a producer, and are divided by 13. So things like knowing when and how to check filter caps, basic troubleshooting, etc. Yeah, so the filter caps are the most dangerous part of the amp. That's the big can of electricity there. If you have divided by 13s, you know what, I was going through my drawers. This is funny. I have a whole bunch of really good NOS 5879s. If you need some, I will sell them to you. I have like tons of this. Really nice ones. These are Raytheons. 5879s. So when we first started, Peter and I were considering building amps with 5879s in it, but then we kind of realized, that's Fred's thing. We're going to do the EF86. We were going to do both at first. So I have a whole bunch of them that I bought. I think I've got 20. Really good ones, really good vintage ones. So spread the word if you own a divided by. I've got a bunch of vintage 5879s I'll sell you. Doug Campbell says, try simple fixes like cleaning the tube sockets with a little WD-40. Yeah, that works. I like to use Deoxit better. DEOXIT, Deoxit Gold, is what I love for tube sockets. Usually whenever I have new tubes, I spray it with Deoxit before I put them in. It's a cleaner and a lubricant. So it gets the carbon and the dust and all that nonsense off the tube socket and off the pins. The pins can collect a lot of carbon and cause problems over time. So Deoxit Gold, this is my commercials section, right? Let's go back to a little dirt, and then I'm going to hang it up here and we'll just talk for a little bit. I think I'm overdriving my system a little bit. I think that's what I hear. Hold on a second. I'm going to drop the gain on the whole show here for just a second. Tell me if the guitar gets a little less, The guitar a little cleaner there. Hang on one sec. All right, hold on. Get the mic back up where they get. Mark says, somewhat related comment, better. Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I guess I've been overdriving the system the whole time. My bad. Apologies. I've only been doing this for like 16 years. Dipshit. Anyway, somewhat related comment. I prefer your amps to not have loops and reverb. I'll never do a reverb tank. Don't worry. Just more points of failure. A pedal goes dead. They are cheap to replace. That's right. Plus, digital reverb pedals sound way better than anything I can do with a reverb tank. There's two reasons for that. One of which is reverb tanks today suck compared to old stuff. And good luck finding two that are the same. When we experimented with reverb before, I would have to buy 15 reverb tanks to get one or two good ones. Not worth it. And then about the time we were doing that, the Strymon pedals came out. And holy crap, I'm like, I've never built a reverb that sounds that good. And that was 15 years ago. But I have a tiny bit of verb on here. Let me just take all the grease off. So we can get a little more dirt out of the amp. Yeah, anyway, so sorry I was overdriving the system this whole time. Pardon the fuzz. Oswald Bates, good question. He says, what happened on reverb tanks? What changed? Is it the materials? I think it's all the above. They're not made in the U.S. anymore. And, you know, when you see people in China or wherever, they just copy the physical specifications. They don't care about the materials. And they're just different. You know, the quality control is not there. I mean, I was literally stunned, you know, because I get all these people that really want reverb in the amp, which I don't understand, but that's me. I like this amp. I'm going to go ahead and shut her down, though. So it just wasn't worth it. I couldn't get good ones. There's no source for good ones. And they're expensive. George, this is going to have more than a half power switch option. This one, I can run it at, the way it's set up right now, 20 watts, 9 watts, or 3 watts. So there you go. And this is EL34s. The transformer will do more than that. That's just what I have hooked up right now. So reverb, yeah, just buy a pedal. And you're absolutely right. Pedals go dead, or there's a new pedal comes out next year, or, you know, I have the UA Heavenly reverb, which is a plate reverb pedal. It's got like 20 options on it. You know, like I can't build that into an amp. That's crazy. Mark Saunier says preamp tubes are either good or dead. No, not really. They can be down. They last a lot longer. They last a lot longer than power tubes do, excuse me. I'm going to set this guitar down 1 second. Hold on. Let me put it over here in my rack. Get a nice rack, boy. They last a lot longer, but they do peter out. You know, they do degrade. They can start to get noisy. They can start to get microphonic. You know, they don't just shut off. Now, tubes that are either good or dead are rectifier tubes. Those just kind of work or they don't. They don't really degrade. Rob Price says, your little whiskey and whiskey forced me to run my delay and reverb through the loop. Yeah, that's the gain. And like I say, like, there's no right or wrong, you know. And if you like using a loop, use a loop. I'm of an age where all the guys that I worshipped as guitar players did not use loops. They didn't exist, you know. Jimi Hendrix never used a loop. Eric Clapton never used a loop. Jimmy Page never used a loop. Eddie Van Halen never used a loop. Stevie Ray Vaughan never used a loop, you know. The Edge, how many effects did that guy used to have? Never used a loop, right? So I kind of like the wildness and the feralness of that. A lot of people don't. And that's totally cool. There's no right or wrong, man. It's like, if you're happy, it's right. That's it. It's like food, If you like it, it's good. Like music as well. Garcia was a big loop user. Yeah, that's right. And he played really nice, clean, beautiful sounds. There's a lot of guys that use, Eric Johnson does not use a loop, There's a lot of guys who do, though. And their sound is great. And there's a lot of guys that don't, and their sound is great. So I get kind of uncomfortable when I watch people online go, oh, no. I am a CPA in Cincinnati, and damn it, I'm going to tell you how you should run your guitar rig. Okay. Thank you. I don't want to say that for them. You know what I'm talking about. But I hear a lot of people just pontificating and ordering others around and being rude about it. It's like, man, I don't know if you have any experience playing music for a living, but that's just not the way it works. Any benefit associated with the loop? Well, the perceived benefit for people is when you're running time-based effects, especially like Rob's talking about here with delay and reverbs, those effects get throttled up and down depending on how much signal's going into them. So like if you set up your echo and it sounds really good, then all of a sudden you hit a distortion pedal in front of it, you get way more echo, right? Same thing if you're running it in the front of the amp. Like if you have it set up for low volume and you get your echo where you like it, and then you crank the amp up or you run the guitar hotter or whatever, the amount of echo goes up. So if you don't want that, you want a constant, steady, predictable amount of echo or reverb, it'll work better in a loop. Tone-wise, don't ever trust a CPA from Cincinnati, says Scotty. Yeah, Scotty's an Ohioan. He knows. Tone-wise, there's argument about, it depends on your pedals. If your pedals are tone sucks, it'll sound worse with the pedals up front. If your pedals are not tone sucks, like I run my pedal board and I have a buffer on the end of it, the custom audio buffer that Bob Bradshaw designed. That makes up for any pedal shit. And it's this big, it's great. MXR sells it, but Bob Bradshaw is a friend of mine. He used to live here. Hi, Hoss. How are you, man? No worries. We're going to hang out and talk for a while, so it's all good. Bob Bradshaw was a friend of mine, and he used to build those huge rigs, in the 90s, especially in the early 2000s with, racks of effects and pedal boards from hell. And he designed this buffer to sort of offset all that stuff. Rob Price says, I will be making a non-loop pedal board for my non-loop amps. Yeah. So the other thing that for me with using a loop is like all the cables. I'm lazy. It's a lot of cables. You have to run into the loop and back in, it's The other thing, my experience from playing music for a living, which I did for a long time, is that if I get too deep into a pedal board, I tend to forget about it. Because you're trying to entertain. You're jamming with your band, and you got to pay attention to the drummer, and you got to make sure your harmony vocal is right. And you're trying to entertain people in the front row of the show, so you're vibing with people, and maybe you've had a drink, maybe you've had 4. You know what I'm saying? So after a while, I realized, oh shit, I forgot to turn this pedal off. So I just never get deep. Like I have Dirtbox, booster, echo, reverb. I'll throw a couple things in there for fun. I just put the Vibe Machine in because Peter and I were talking about Hendrix, and I thought, man, I need a Univibe. And then I got this Klon Centaur copy just the other day, and I just threw it on the front of the board, just messing around. I actually really like it. So if you plug it into a clean amp, it's crazy. I played it at a friend's house through a Tweed Deluxe, a real one, not a reissue. And it was like, dang, that sounds great. Really worked. Made that little Deluxe sound like a little Marshall stack. It was cool. So anyway, my whole point is like, play with it yourself and find out what you like. Because what you like is what's important. What someone else on the gear page or on Facebook or Instagram or some influencer or whatever likes is fine, but they're different people than you. Their opinion is no more valuable than yours. Your opinion is the most valuable. And there's a trend on social media, especially to talk you out of that. Yeah, the Seriatone. Oh, Nick is great. Yeah, Nick Osm is great. Everything he makes is really good. Their Centaur knockoffs are pretty good too, but not $60. So there's a video, I think I posted it on the fans page last week, Anderton's Music in the UK. They did a shootout with this pedal and a real Klon. And the guy was like, I can't, did you switch it? He's like, yeah, this is the different pedal. Which one? He goes, I can't tell the difference. And he went back and forth, and I'm listening to the recording too. You can't tell the difference. It was flawless. Usually when I see a shootout, you can tell they sound a little different. You know, even Klons sound different one to one, but this one's just spot on. I'm like, well, God, for that kind of money. Bob Dragich from Guitar Player Magazine sent it to me. He sent me a link to it. He goes, just go buy this. Trust me, it's great. I think his quote was, this is going to end the reign of the Klon Centaur. Because, you know, they're going for thousands of dollars now. And you can buy a pedal that is indecipherable for $69. I'm going there. I'm not a math whiz, but I did study economics in college. And I think that's a smart move. Unless you just want to be posh and show off, which is fine. You can do that too. But anyway, back to the point. If you like it, it's right. You know, don't let people talk you out of something you like. Especially Scotty, a CPA from Cincinnati. The only thing worse than a CPA from Cincinnati is a CPA from Cleveland. I'm just picking on Ohio, sorry. I mean, the ones from Dayton are pretty nice, but not, you know, anyway. So, yeah. And we're going to be out of time here shortly, but the good news again, for those of you that missed it, I got my first commitment on money. I am officially out looking for a new shop. We're in business. Things are rolling. And I'm very excited. It's kind of early to, probably shouldn't even say that yet on the show, but I know you guys will get a kick out of it. And load up my tubes back in the box here. Yeah, that's a good question, Haas. Haas, you need to be the co-host of my show. Can you do that? Do you have a good camera and internet where you live? We can be on the screen together. Kids these days would love your Ohio jokes. I like Ohio. I'm just kidding. I just randomly said Cincinnati. I don't know. A CPA from fucking Omaha. I don't know. A CPA from Birmingham, Alabama. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just such a foolish thing. I don't understand it. You know, people get carried away when they're typing on the internet. The ones in Dayton will shank you. I didn't know that. Holy cow. I don't know what it is. People get carried away typing on the internet and they want to just be this big authority on, you know, it's like, you know what, dude? Like, I'm not saying I know more than anybody else. I just have my own experiences that I feel good about. I put groceries on the table with a guitar for over 10 years. I paid my rent with a guitar. It wasn't like a hobby. I didn't like, you know, it wasn't like, you know, got together with my buddies on Saturday night and we played at the local pub. Which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying it's a different level of analysis. You know, when you're, I could do that. I'm sure. Great. And Mazel Tov on the funding. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So, I mean, I literally, when you rely on a guitar and an amp for your living, like I bought groceries, I paid rent, I paid the electric bill, I put gas in my car with a guitar. For a long time, I have an opinion about stuff, and I don't need some lawyer in Denver telling me that I'm wrong. You know, like I like it. Screw you. Jay Frisbee says, I don't know why Ohio is a thing they laugh about these days. In other news, I'm glad to have finally made the live show. Oh, good. I'm super excited. 65's back in action. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. Me too. I appreciate all the goodwill. We got a lot of work to do. This isn't going to be quick. I'm not going to come out in 2 weeks and go, hey, we're selling amps at Guitar Center. It's going to take a while. What's the bad cliche, right? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And here we go. But yeah, man, trust yourselves, trust your ears, trust your feelings. Don't listen to what some other a-hole on the internet says. Rob says, when someone asks me for equipment, I will say, what works for me is, yeah, that's right. It's subjective. That's it. It's completely subjective. It's like food, like how do you want your hot dog? Well, I like horseradish mustard, onions, and relish. And if I'm in Chicago, definitely hot peppers. Some people want sweet mustard and ketchup. Some people just want ketchup. You know what? None of them are wrong. It's just whatever you like. Do it. So anyway, I'm ranting about the subject because it gets under my skin. And I feel that I have a little bit of a bully pulpit here so people can watch this and go, well, I tell you, I played this pedal, and I can tell you for certain that it is better than that pedal. No, you can't. There's a word for that in Latin. I don't know how to say it in English. How do you say it? Oh, bullshit. That's just some serious grade A rotting bullshit. You can like whatever you want. Hendrix played cheap pedals. Even these things sound good, right? Scotty Bratcher says, I wish more guys like Jack Pearson that could prove that playing a Squire through a DeVille sounds better than any know-it-all. Yeah, that's right. I'll tell the story again. I know you guys have heard it before, but it's worth repeating. I still, to this day, get messages from a lot of people that go, which one of your amps sounds the most like Billy Gibbons? And I'll tell them the truth. I'll say, any of them. They go, really? Well, let me ask you a question. Yeah, that's good, Haas. I like the way you said that. I'm going to put that on the screen while I talk. So let me ask you a question. Do you play guitar like Billy Gibbons? No, not really. Oh, I'm sorry. Then none of my amps will make you sound that way. And they get really confused. I'm like, man, if I could just build an amp that made you sound like Jimmy Page or Billy Gibbons or Eddie Van Halen or Angus Young or whatever, like, I'd be the richest guy in the world. Doesn't work that way. If you could buy the game, everybody would buy it. Now, you can get similar equipment and get sounds that are reminiscent of someone else, but you're never going to nail them because you're not them. So the allegorical tale that I made up, that I used to tell people on the phone literally 2 or 3 times a week when I had my old shop, was I have a time machine. You've probably heard this before, so you guys can just laugh and go, damn, Dan, you've told this story before, but some of you haven't. I have a time machine. You and I are going to go back to 1969 to Yasgur's Farm in upstate New York. And I'm going to bop in. I'm going to introduce you to Jimi Hendrix. And we bop in. Jimmy, this is Steve. Steve, Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy, can Steve play your guitar? Forget about the right-handed left thing. It's a story, right? Go with me. Jimmy says, of course, man, you can play my guitar, brother. That's cool. And you play his guitar, and it sounds like trash cans rolling down the street because he has a fuzz face plugged into 4 Marshall stacks that are so damn loud, it's going to make you lose your water, right? And what's going on? Well, it's Hendrix. I go, hey, Jimmy, I have this time machine. No one will know you're gone. I'll bring you back to this instant. It'll just be a flash. But I'm going to take you forward in time. And I go there, and we go to Steve's house, and we hand Jimmy his Paul Reed Smith into his Bogner amp or whatever. And it sounds just like Jimi Hendrix. Just like Jimi Hendrix. So the point is, you got to be the guy. But the good news is Jimi Hendrix can't sound like you, Steve. That's cool, right? I think it is. Anyway. Haas Thompson says there certainly is a bit of Stalinist insecurity and paranoid on the Tinterweb. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It makes people step outside their rational self and just act like, what's the polite British slang? You don't do the rhyme slang up there in the north, though, do you? Um, Maypole was the one I knew when I lived in London. um, Rob Price says, my writing syntax is usually a bit lacking because I'm also working on my computer. Oh, that's fine, buddy. No worry, we're not judging you. You're amongst friends. It's okay. Haas Thompson correctly says, and hey, I sound like me and I'm cool with that. Oh, yeah, that's the word, Haas, I was looking for. Silly bunts. The litter runt. That's the thing, man. Like, play guitar to be happy and have a good time. And make music and express yourself and relieve stress and make friends and socialize, blah, 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 blah. Dan Bull Sonic Safe Space. That's right. I'm not going to tell you guys what to do. It's not my place. It's no one's place to tell you what you do. It's inappropriate. I don't have the right or the privilege to tell you guys what to do. That would just be stupid and rude. Anyway, yeah. All right, I think we're caught up here. Yeah, Jay says, if Jimmy could fall down the stairs holding a guitar, he would approach sounding like me. I'm sure you sound better than that, Jay. Very self-deprecating, but I'm sure you sound a little better than that. Anyway, so recap, 65 amps, finally got first commitment of money. It's been, when did I announce I wanted to start the company again? Was it last fall? Something like that. We're rolling, man. We are rolling. I think it's going to be good. I'm really excited. I'm extremely grateful and humbled by the support. So, Haas Thompson says, we are all the sum of our parts as players and just that little bit of magic if you're lucky. Yeah, and even if you just touch the magic once in a while, like you're sitting around playing and for just a minute you go, oh, yeah, baby. That's all worth it. But guitar and playing music is such a joy, and it's such a privilege, and it's such a blessing. I don't mean that in the religious way. I mean it in just, we're so lucky to be doing this stuff. And to sit around and argue on the internet is that's antithetical to everything we're doing. I've had people approach me and say they don't like my amps. I go, yeah, it's fine. Neither do I. I mean, that's not true. I like them, but that's cool. There's a lot of amps that people like that I don't like. I'm not going to list them for you, but it's just my personal opinion. There's a lot of guitars that people like that I don't like. Again, I'm not going to say what those are because it doesn't matter. It's about me. It's not about you. Anyway, so next phase, Mike and I have a producer. I believe it's a 6L that we are going to retrofit with this power scheme. Maybe make a couple circuit adjustments on it and give it a shot. Hopefully I'll be able to show that to you within a few weeks. Mike's really busy. And up till now, he's been doing all this help for me as a favor. Because he wants to be involved in the revival of 65. 65revive.com. Somebody needs to register that right now and give it to me. So we'll have more to come. I'll have more stories. I think right now this amp is pretty static for the moment. Mike is buried. I know he's like, I can't even talk to him until late next week. So I'll probably bring it back the way it is. Maybe I'll bring some 6L6s. That'd probably be a smart idea, wouldn't it? Maybe I can just get Mike to bias it for me. Either that or I just got to go out and buy the equipment so I can bias it. Biasing's not hard. You just need a scope. And they have these little handheld scopes with a signal generator in them now. I should just go do that. Haas Thompson, again, you have to be my co-host, man. This is great. The Bicontinental lunch show, evening show. You can't get one size fits all with something as absurdly subjective as music. That's right. I think the word I'm looking for is hubris. The arrogance to tell someone what they should or should not like. To tell someone you don't know because, I am a car dealer in Lexington, Kentucky. the fuck do you know? Like, like, sorry for the cuss words. I know it doesn't really offend anybody, but maybe there's somebody watching the recording. I apologize. I use some adult language once in a while. I just think it's amazing. I've never in my life went, you don't want that pedal. This pedal's way better. Trust me, I played it. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't do that. And I have a lot of experience. I played music for a living for a long time, and I've run an amp company for a long time. I have a lot of experience, but I'll tell you what I know. I would tell you my experiences. You take them with a grain of salt and factor it into your life. Doesn't matter. Anyway, before I go, enough of that. I'll just quit ranting because it's a subject that really gets under my skin. What else do you guys want to know? What other questions might you have that you want to hear answered? Because I'm going to take off here in a minute. I got some stuff to do, but I got some calls to make, and I got to go out and start looking for a shop, which is exciting. I haven't had my own shop. I mean, I did the license deal at the end of 2012, where we moved in to boutique amps distribution. I haven't had my own shop since then. That's been a minute. I'm excited to do it again. Negative feedback pot. On a cathode biased amp, you can't do that. Have we cornered a new name? No, it's still going to be 65 amps. The 65 Revive thing, I was thinking about making shirts. Bletchley or Greenwich would be good. Oh, I see what you're saying. Amp names. Yeah, those are in the queue, man. Those are good. Bletchley probably won't work over here, but Greenwich would. Bletchley to an American sounds like somebody getting sick. Bletchley, like it's to an American ear that might be a little weird, but Greenwich, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, I think I'm a minute ahead of you on here. Yeah, I know the amp names. But Greenwich is good. There's Greenwich, New York. There's Greenwich Village, right, and Greenwich, Connecticut. And then, of course, Greenwich in East London, where I went there, where time was created, where you're at zero. I like Greenwich. I went there to the place where they keep time. It's literally the place where they keep time, is in Greenwich, down to the microsecond. It's pretty impressive. It's very cool. And then Brompton's Cocktail. Yeah. So Scotty Bratcher says, with the new amps, will there be 3 tops that are the same on all production, or is it easy to order different wattage outputs? No, it'll be switchable. You can choose. The only thing I have to decide is which 3 taps I'm going to use. Some guys have said, I'd really still like it to be a 50-watt amp if I want it. I don't know where you're going to use that. Scotty Bratcher is the only guy I know that would do that. Oh, wait a minute. He's here. Right now, this is a pair of BL34s. It's running at 29 and 2.7. That's right. You're right, George. Smaller than a microsecond. That's right, out in Greenwich. Was in Greenwich, Connecticut last Sunday. My in-laws... See, Greenwich is working, Hoss. Greenwich might be a good one. It's a lot to think about. And honestly, I got so much work to do before then. Like, these amps aren't going to be available for a while. If I get a shop tomorrow, which isn't going to happen, but if I get a shop tomorrow, I will be happy to get the first production amps out. Sorry, my wife's calling. I'll be lucky to get these amps out by the holidays. So I know we're all excited, and thank you very much for that. Sorry, I always answer for my wife. So it's going to take a minute. Okay, good. So And I will be doing my show from the new shop, and you can watch it. You can watch us put it together. If you want to come over and like bring pizza or burgers or tacos or something and help, come on. Come hook a brother up. So anyway, I think it's about time to wrap it up. It's kind of funny. I always notice when I go into the second hour, I can just sit here and chat and more people show up. Like the head count's going up right now. It's funny. And I hate to disappear on that, but we're just kind of rambling. I know for people watching the recording, I have been told by young people now that the attention span on the internet is either 15 to 30 seconds or 2 hours and 15 minutes. George says you need to get one of the new units out to Drew at Tulsa Guitar House. All right. Tell him to get in touch with me. And we can certainly do that. I'm going to start signing up dealers this summer. Some of my old dealers all want to be on. I've got about 15 or 20 of them that have verbally said they'd like to get back in. And hey, Mike, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, you made it. You have to watch the recording. I'm sorry. Apparently, I was overdriving the system a little bit for most of the show. Whoops. Sorry about that. So be forgiving. I think there's a little bit of digital distortion in there. But anyway, the good news is, Mike, the breaking news, besides the new Pope, is that I got my first commitment for funding. So we're off to the races. I'm out looking for shop right now. And spoke to Mike. We're going to get him. Well, he helps occasionally, but and I have another tech that I'm talking to, and all that kind of stuff. Mike works full time for somebody else, so you know. But Hoss Thompson, that's rock and roll, buddy. Yeah, man, a little bit of extra distortion doesn't hurt anybody. Not the best way to show off the amp. Anyway, this isn't the final product anyway. This is just a proof of concept. This is a proof that I can manage the electricity in a way that keeps the tubes happy. And everything is good. It's copacetic, man. But anyway, I'm going to call last call here. It's 1:18 on the West Coast in the United States. And this is KFMZ in Columbia, Missouri. So I know there's quite a bit of a lag here, so I'm going to hang out for about 30 seconds and just shoot the breeze in case anyone has another subject they want to bring up. If they don't, I got to get rolling. But it's always a pleasure talking to you guys, and I really appreciate you guys spending time with me. It's really nice. I'm glad I was able to share the news with you. And things are good. Oh, call the Aunt Murray. That's cool. Yeah. I told you the Bob Dylan story, right? I'll end with this story and then we'll hang up. So for a while, I thought I was going to be a lawyer, right? I went to law school and I was working at an entertainment law firm in Century City here in LA. And one of the lawyers there was a guy named Michael Perlstein, who's passed away, rest his soul. Michael Perlstein was George Harrison's lawyer. He was famous for the My Sweet Lord case, you know, where in the middle of the trial, Harrison turned to Michael and said, I must have ripped this song off. I was doing drugs and acid all the time. It's the exact same song with different words. Let's give them half, right? That's how nice George Harrison was. But Michael Perlstein also represented Bob Dylan. And so when I first started working at the firm, we had a shared calendar on the computer, and I saw this on there, and I went and asked Michael. I said, hey, I really, really want to meet Bob Dylan. And he said, no, you don't. And I go, well, how well do you know? He said, I don't know him. I know his brother, Murray Dylan. And I knew for a fact that they were actually kind of friends, but he was just kind of like, no, I don't know him. It's his brother, Murray. So that's been my joke now for 30 years. Oh, I don't know him, but I know his brother, Murray. So yeah, that'd be a good name for the amp. So here's the Bob Dylan story. So Michael told me, he said, trust me, I don't think you want to meet him. He's not, strangers aren't his thing. Right. And oh, no. And so, a couple months later, I'm in the back working in my cube. And Michael's secretary calls me and goes, okay, Bob Dylan's in Michael's office. You can take coffee in. And she had a tray all set up with coffee and cream and sugar and stuff. And I walked in, and Michael tried his best. He was so nice. He was such a gentleman. I learned a lot from him when I was a young man. And he said, Bob, this is one of our interns, Dan. He wanted to meet you, And Dylan did not even look at me. And he looked at Michael and went, have you run a FBI background check on this kid? And Michael looked at me and went, get out. And I was heartbroken. I was young, and stupid, 30 years ago. And I couldn't believe it. He didn't even say hi. I thought at least he'd shake my hand and be nice. Like, you run an FBI background check on this kid? I know it was a joke at the time. I mean, I know it was a joke now, but at the time I was absolutely shattered. Dumb kid. And anyway, and then Michael called me at my desk later and went, I told you. He goes, you know who's a lot nicer than him? And I know who's that. And he said his brother Murray. Bob Dylan doesn't have a brother Murray, by the way. So just so those of you that aren't following along. So yeah, Hoss, there you go. There's one of my favorite music business stories. On that note, I am going to hang up, to use old man terminology. I got a split. I need to get a little bit of food and got some errands to run. I'm going to start looking for a shop. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for wasting some time with me. Hoss, you need StreamYard is the software that I use, and we can co-host together. I can set you up side screen on here. I can actually do up to like 3 more people on here. So I want to get Peter on to do it when he's home. He's just playing a lot now. But anyway, once again, good news at 65. We're all thrilled over here. And I look forward to seeing you next week. All righty, guys. Take care. Love you. Mean it.